Welcome to my channel, Sunshine Shoulders. I'm Calvin. Thank you so much for stopping by today. The subject of my vlog today is the flip side of the Philippines. When I took off my rose-colored glasses. But before I get started, let me welcome my viewers and subscribers. Thank you so much for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of my channel. It's truly been amazing. Never take that for granted. I want to put this disclaimer out there before I get started that I'm not disrespecting the Philippines. I'm not disrespecting Filipinos or their culture. In my opinion, no one promotes the Philippines more than I do. No one loves Filipinos more than I do. This is just my attempt, my humble attempt, to talk about life as it goes on around me over here in the Philippines. That's the end of the disclaimer. I got this idea for the vlog from a viewer. He may even be a subscriber by the name of Elmo J. He was on my live stream yesterday, and I was extolling the virtues of the Philippines like I always do. And he just simply put a comment on the side. He says, "We have our share of assassinations and crime over here." And I was like, wow. So I put that up there, and then somebody must have responded. I replied to him, and he said, "Yes, I'm no longer wearing rose-colored glasses." And I was like, wow, that's so compelling I have to talk about it because, see, my channel is geared toward the new man and woman who's never been here before. So what I try to do is dispel a lot of the myths and outright lies about the Philippines that discourage people from coming over here. But there is a flip side of the Philippines. It's not all the good times. It's not all the best of things. There is a reality over here that a lot of us foreigners, we ignore or we miss because we're moving so fast. But once you slow down, you start meeting people and you're hearing their stories, man, you're going to recognize the flip side, not the dark side, man. There's nothing dark about the Philippines. It's no different here, really, than anywhere else in the world. Okay? We're human beings over here. So that's why I call it the flip side. But Elmo J, thank you so much for pouring that bucket of ice cold reality over my head, giving me a dose of my own medicine, really. Those few words you said was the nitty gritty. Because as foreigners, we're in the Philippines, but we're not of the Philippines. We're in a whole different universe over here than majority of the locals. There's not a day goes by that I don't see something, hear something, experience something that tugs at my heartstrings and sometimes just shakes me to my core. All right? But because my channel gives you the 360, I'm going to have to talk about the flip side every now and then. Because the struggle is real over here. And it's all around you. I'm not talking about just poverty. I'm talking about the helplessness that comes along with the poverty. Because there's plenty of hope over here. Filipinos aren't hopeless. They're very religious, and their religion gives them hope. Millions of Filipinos around the world have proven that. They pulled themselves up out of their own bootstraps and escaped the flip side. They've escaped the poverty. You're going to see stuff over here, man, that it's just going to baffle you. You're going to wonder to yourself how people make it from day to day. It's that bad. But I'm pretty sure I can probably go somewhere else. But see, I'm in the Philippines. My vlogs are about the Philippines. So I'm going to talk about the flip side today. You know, my son's mother, she was the first woman that I really got serious with over here. And I thought we were going to get married. Of course, some cultural things messed that up. But when she was 11 years old, I want you to let this soak in, man. She was about ready to go to high school. And her mother said, no, you can't go to high school. You have to quit. We can't afford to send you to high school. So what she said, no, I want to go, so I'm going to find a job. So she went out and found a job at 11 years old, working for her cousin, selling coconuts on the street of Cebu City. She'd work from sun up to sundown. At the end of the day, her hands would be yellow from dealing with the coconuts. At night, she would sleep on the coconut cart. But she made it, man. She pulled herself up from her own bootstraps. And she escaped the flip side, man. She's in America right now with our son. Thriving, man. Living a good life. Built a house for her family over here. But see, that's a flip side that we as foreigners, we don't see, or we ignore, or we avoid altogether. Because we're here, but we're not really a part of the Philippines. It's like we're on the outside looking in. We're in a whole different universe than most Filipinos over here. But this is the type of stories that you hear. And I don't want to hear them because, man, I'm going to tell you something, man. They really break me down. I'm like, man, let's go to Boracay. Let's go to Palawan. I just always want to stay focused on the positive because see, I suffer from anxiety. Not anymore, not since I moved to the Philippines, but that kind of stuff will bring me down. I start getting depressed. But it's reality, man. You can't escape it. My ex-wife, Filipina, she would tell me the stories like, for 4 years, her whole 4 years in high school, she wore the same pair of shoes. And when her mother wasn't, and when she wasn't wearing the shoes, her mother was wearing the shoes to work. Sometimes all they'd have to eat was rice and salt. But see, growing up poor in America, by American standards, I can relate to the rice and salt because, hell, sometimes I'd eat syrup sandwiches or ketchup sandwiches while my mother was out trying to make ends meet. But there was no helplessness. You know, meaning they can't do anything about it at that particular moment. See, you're going to see the helplessness in the eyes of people over here, man, and you never seen it before. That's the flip side of the Philippines. It's the flip side of that smile that you always see. See, once you start getting to know people over here and things start slowing down, you're going to start recognizing stuff that you normally wouldn't recognize being over here for 2 weeks. Her father died when she was 14 years old, man. It's just those kind of stories, man. And just threw her family into just a whirlwind of poverty and bad times, man. But they made it through with the hope that they have. Her mother would lock the door, lock them inside the house, put the lock on the outside to protect them against the trouble that she knew was out there. The flip side that I never talk about. Because I'm not trying to discourage people from coming over here. And a lot of times, it's none of my business. Remember, that's rule number 1 with me. Shut the fuck up and mind your own business. And that's why a lot of times I don't talk about it. But this guy, he slapped me in the face yesterday. You know, he said, man, you always talking about, he didn't say this, but in a roundabout way, he says, you always talking about the good times. Man, there's reality over here. There's a flip side of the Philippines. Even Marilyn, when she was about 10 or 11, she became the woman of the house. They lived in a ramshackle kubo over in one of the worst areas here in San Carlos City. She was the one that had to go out and make ends meet at 11 to feed her sisters and brothers. Because the mother was doing her best up in Manila. But the money she was sending back here, the father was drinking it up and spending it on other women, man. These stories, man, will break you down, man. They will tug at your heartstrings. This is the flip side of the Philippines that most of us never, ever see or experience because we're in the Philippines. We're not of the Philippines, man. So she had to not only go to school all day long, but then get out from school, go wash clothes, clean somebody's house, run errands, whatever it took to buy rice and dried fish and whatever to put on the table. But it's not always about the poverty, man. It's the helplessness. When you see these little kids out here, a lot of them, man, are the breadwinners in their family, believe it or not. And one more thing about this part before I go on to something else, when you see people out here asking for money, they're not all the time begging. They're not all the time beggars. For many of them, it's survival. But our Western thinking, we lump everybody in the same basket. Now, they're experiencing the flip side of the Philippines. And he said something about assassination and crime. And for the locals over here, man, it can get pretty bad. the crime. You know, the robbery, the murder, the extortion, the kidnapping, the assassination. It happens all the time. It's cold, it's cruel from somebody like me coming from the West, even though murder's murder, and I see it all the time in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky. Murder is shot way up. They kill a lot more people in my hometown than they do over here in the Philippines. But just the methods that they use over here, it's a dog-eat-dog world as you can possibly imagine over here. The slightest thing you do could get you killed. Recently, there was a mother, a widower, on her way to work right before Christmas. She got gunned down, man. She was in a tricycle on her way to work. The tandem rolled up on her, man, shot in the head, back. They killed her, man. I don't know why. It's none of my business. But that's the flip side. A lot of people in these major cities, they're getting kidnapped for ransom. You don't pay the ransom, man, you're done. You're dead. That's a reality over here. But I don't talk about it because I don't want to scare you from coming over here, because 99 times out of 100, you're not even going to be involved in that kind of stuff, embroiled in that, unless you purposely put yourself right in the middle of that. We live in a total different universe over here. But because I always tell you I got to give you the 360, I'm going to talk about the flip side today. Yes, a crime can get bad, man. You hear about people getting assassinated. Most of the time it's businessmen over, maybe competitors, maybe a loan, maybe a land dispute. But that's why I always try to give you the nitty-gritty about the cultural differences. You can do things in your country and won't even make a ripple. Over here, it becomes a tsunami, man, and you can lose your life for it. It's just the flip side of the Philippines, man. Let's talk about the infrastructure. A lot of times it's crumbling over here. The roads aren't what you're used to. The dilapidated buses that you literally put your life in the hands of the driver. All you got to do is look at the tires. I mean, you feel like a piece of popcorn riding from here to Dumaguete. But it is what it is, guys. It's part of the Philippine experience. It's the reason I love it over here. It's so much different than what I'm used to. I ran from over there, man. I'm an escapist. Yeah, I escaped that burning house over there and came to the Philippines, so I'm not complaining. But I wanted to talk about the flip side of it today because I would be a hypocrite if I didn't. But yeah, the infrastructure is not what it is, man. Some places, man, you can't get internet over here. Everything's out of stock. Just the simple stuff that you experience in your home country is not going to make any sense over here. A guy was telling a story the other day. He said there's a coffee shop around the corner from him that only sells coffee and coffee beans. It's open. He goes in there because he wants to order some coffee beans. He wants to try the new, he wants to try Filipino coffee. They're out of stock. And he says to himself, why in the world are you even open if you're selling coffee beans and you don't have any coffee beans to sell? But this is the Philippines. This is the flip side, guys. The struggle is real over here. It's something that you're not used to. I don't care how bad you grew up in the West. But you can ignore it if you want to, and most of us do. Certainly can avoid it. We're moving too fast over here, man. We're purposely seeking out the good times, the good things that help to make the Philippines what it is. We don't have time to stop and look at that UNICEF stuff that's right there staring you in the face. But once you start meeting people over here, your life's going to slow down. You're going to hear the stories. It's going to break you down. You're going to see the reality, the 360 of this place. But because you're a foreigner, man, you don't have to experience that. That's why a lot of times I don't talk about it. I talk about things that you will experience, unequivocally experience as a foreigner over here. Because we're in a whole different universe than the locals. So thank you so much for stopping by today. Again, this isn't an indictment of the Philippines, man. I'm not putting the Philippines down or the Filipino people. No one loves and respects the Filipino culture more than me. But I thought it was my duty to talk about the flip side today. Elmo J slapped me in the face yesterday. And I want to thank you for that. But my channel is always going to be positive. I'm always going to extol the virtues of the Philippines. I'm never going to stay focused on the negative, because the negative over here is everywhere. I'm never going to discourage you from coming over here. I'm still going to keep talking about the good things. I'm still going to dispel the rumors, the myths, the outright lies about this place that stop you in your tracks from coming over here. Because a lot of that goes on over in the flip side, the corruption and all that stuff, it's none of my business. And that's my rule number one. Shut the fuck up and mind your own business. So if in America it's getting late, before you let your head hit the pillow, please find somebody to help. If you don't want them late grocery runs, beer runs, weed runs, just getting off second shift, or you're on your lunch break, see somebody out in the street, buy them something to eat, buy them something to drink, give them a few dollars. Be in the Philippines, it's early. It's not even 6:30 a.m. Beautiful Friday morning. We have our 1,000 peso pandemic giveaway drawing tonight. We're going to give away 2 winners, 1,000 pesos to my Filipino subscribers. That's how my channel got started. See, I didn't cause the poverty over here. Okay, I'm not part of the problem, but I can be part of the solution. And I can't help everybody, but that's no reason for me not to help as many people as I can, to do what I can while I can. Okay? They said what? Make hay while the sun is out? So tonight we're going to do that. Not a day goes by that I don't try to help somebody over here, that I don't help somebody. I purposely do it. Because if I don't know anything else, I know this one thing for sure. We help other people, we help ourselves. Take care, stay safe, stay COVID free. I'll see you next time.